9 hikers huddled against the biting wind, their breath pluming in the frigid air. It was February 1959, and the slopes of Holat-Syakhl, or Dead Mountain in the northern Urals, were an unforgiving canvas of snow and ice. Igor Dyatlov, an experienced trekker, led his group of 8 skilled companions on what should have been a challenging but achievable expedition. What they encountered instead, however, remains one of the most chilling and perplexing mysteries of the 20th century, the Dyatlov Pass incident. Weeks later, when the alarm was finally raised after the group failed to report back, a search party began to retrace their steps. What they uncovered in the desolate snowscape was not just tragedy, but a scene that defied all logic and plunged investigators into a nightmare of unanswered questions. The first discovery was the tent. It was found on the eastern slope of Holat-Syakhl, pitched on a slight incline. But it wasn't just abandoned, it was catastrophically damaged. One side had been violently ripped open from the inside. Personal belongings, clothing, diaries, cameras, food supplies were strewn about, perfectly preserved, as if the occupants had left in an unimaginable hurry. What force could compel 9 experienced mountaineers in sub-zero temperatures to cut their way out of their only shelter and flee into the storm, seemingly unarmed and unprepared? This single image of a tent slashed open became the enduring symbol of the panic that must have gripped the group. Following a trail of footprints, the searchers traced a chaotic path descending about 1.5 kilometers towards a dense cedar tree at the edge of the tree line. These footprints, discovered by the sole survivor of the initial search, Yuri Yudin, who had turned back due to illness, indicated that some of the hikers were barefoot or in socks, others in a single boot. The prints gradually vanished under fresh snow, a silent testament to the desperate, unequipped flight. Beneath the enormous cedar, the search party made their next grim discovery. Here, under the protective branches, the remains of a small fire were found, along with the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. They were dressed in minimal clothing, lying almost side by side. Their hands were badly burned, suggesting they had tried to keep the fire going, perhaps tearing off branches from the cedar, which had signs of damage reaching up to 5 meters. Both had suffered hypothermia, but Doroshenko also had internal bleeding and minor facial injuries, while Krivonishenko had abrasions and cuts. Autopsy reveals Yuri Krivonishenko and Doroshenko likely died from hypothermia after their frantic escape from the tent. Their minimal clothing and the desperate attempt to light a fire suggest they sought warmth and shelter at the cedar, succumbing to the extreme cold. The burns on their hands might indicate a desperate effort to gather wood, perhaps even breaking off branches with their bare hands. A short distance away, between the cedar and the tent, searchers found 3 more bodies, almost in a line, suggesting they might have been trying to return to the tent. Igor Dyatlov, the group's leader, was found face up, one arm bent as if protecting his head. Zinaida Kolmogorova lay nearby, face down in the snow, and Rustin Slobodin was found furthest along the line, clutching a small piece of fur. All showed signs of severe hypothermia. Autopsy reveals that these 3 likely died from hypothermia during a desperate attempt to return to their tent. Dyatlov's position, facing the tent, suggests he was leading the charge back. Slobodin's skull fracture, though not immediately fatal, could have incapacitated him, accelerating his demise in the cold. Kolmogorova's struggle against the elements is evident in her desperate crawl, leaving a trail in the snow. They were fighting for survival, but the elements proved too strong. It took another 2 months for the remaining 4 bodies to be found, unearthed from a deep ravine about 75 meters from the cedar tree, buried under 4 meters of snow. This is where the truly disturbing images and injuries emerged, pushing the incident beyond mere hypothermia. Lyudmila Dubinina was found partially submerged in a freezing stream at the bottom of the ravine. The image of her body was particularly grim. She was missing her eyes and, most horrifyingly, her tongue. She also had extensive chest fractures. She was found wearing Kolmogorov's hat and Krivonishenko's trousers, suggesting clothing had been swapped or taken from the deceased. Semyon Zolotaryov lay nearby, also with severe chest fractures, and, mysteriously, a camera around his neck. He was wearing Dubinina's fur coat. Alexander Kolovatov had a fractured skull, missing eyebrows, and a severely deformed nose. Nikolai Thibault-Brignol had the most severe cranial damage, including extensive cranial fractures. This group presents the biggest enigma. Their severe internal injuries, Dubinina and Zolotaryov's chest fractures, Kolovatov and Thibault-Brignol's skull fractures, are inconsistent with a simple fall or hypothermia. The force required to inflict such trauma would be immense, akin to a car crash. Paradoxical undressing. The fact that they were found with clothing from other deceased members suggests a phenomenon known as paradoxical undressing, where hypothermia victims in their final stages feel an intense heat and begin to remove their clothes. This might explain the missing garments from the initial victims. Dubinina's missing tongue and eyes. This is perhaps the most gruesome detail. While scavenging animals could be a partial explanation, the precise nature of the removals and the advanced state of decomposition, despite the cold, are highly unusual. Some theories suggest a natural process of soft tissue decomposition in the freezing stream, while others point to a more sinister yet unknown cause. The compelling unknown force. The official Soviet investigation, after ruling out murder and natural disaster, concluded that the hikers died due to a compelling unknown force. This vague conclusion only fueled speculation. The evidence wasn't limited to the bodies. Investigators reported faint traces of radioactivity on some of the victims' clothing. Photographs found on the hikers' cameras, though mostly normal, included one haunting out-of-focus image taken the night of the incident, showing what appears to be a light anomaly or streak in the darkness. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains a tangled web of baffling clues. Was it an avalanche, a rare katabatic wind, or an infrasound phenomenon that induced panic? Was it a secret military test, or a confrontation with an unknown indigenous tribe, or something far stranger, something that still whispers from the desolate slopes of Dead Mountain? The images of the ripped tent, the barefoot footprints, the burned hands, the fractured skulls, and the missing eyes and tongue are not just photographs of a tragedy. They are fragments of a terrifying story, a puzzle whose pieces refuse to fit, leaving us to wonder what unimaginable horrors transpired on that silent, frozen night. The mountain kept its secrets then and continues to hold them close, offering only chilling glimpses into the last moments of the Dyatlov group.